The crack of that Winchester split the Wyoming dawn like a thunderclap, straight from God's own arsenal, yanking me Luke Harlan bolt upright from where I'd been wrestling a stubborn stretch of barbed wire into submission. 42 years of scraping by on this unforgiving frontier, plus 8 brutal ones in the cavalry, had honed my instincts sharper than a Bowie blade. Danger wasn't just a whisper, it was a scream tearing through my gut. Black smoke clawed its way skyward from the Broken Arrow ranch house, maybe 400 yards down the valley, twisting through the sagebrush like some devil's invitation. My heart hammered against my ribs, every fiber in me yelling to mount up and charge. But hesitation gripped me for a split second, the kind that comes from too many bad memories. Piling up like storm clouds, I spurred my roan stallion, Rusty, hard across the frost-laced ground, his hooves pounding out a rhythm that echoed my racing pulse, like war drums calling me back to battles I'd fought to forget. The air bit cold, carrying the acrid tang of gunpowder and something worse, blood and fear. As I crested the rise, the scene hit me like a cavalry saber to the chest, dragging me straight back to the nightmare of Little Bighorn 8 years ago. Henry Whitaker lay sprawled face down on his weathered porch, for ugly bullet holes stitched across his back like some macabre embroidery. His Remington revolver lay untouched beside him, gleaming in a pool of blood that steamed in the morning chill, as if his life force was still fighting to cling to this world. A ragged groan pulled my eyes to the rain barrel at the edge of the yard. Clara Whitaker, Henry's wife of 30 years, the woman who'd baked pies for every barn dance in the county, was crawling toward her husband's body, her faded gingham dress soaked crimson from a gut wound that looked fatal even from 10 paces. Her silver-streaked hair hung loose, framing a face twisted in pain, but there was fire in her eyes, a desperate urgency that cut deeper than any blade. "Luke," she rasped, her voice like wind scraping over broken glass. "They took Sophia. Sophia." The name sent a jolt through me, hotter than the smoke rising from the ranch house. Sophia Reyes, 29 years old, a widow from down Mexico way who'd ridden onto the Broken Arrow 7 weeks back, claiming she knew a thing or two about doctoring sick cattle. I've been skeptical at first. Folks from south of the border didn't always get a warm welcome in these parts, with whispers of border troubles and old grudges floating around like tumbleweeds. But there was something about her that stuck with me from the start. Those dark hazel eyes of hers, sharp as a hawk's, scanning the land not just for grazing spots, but with a calculating gleam, asking pointed questions about property lines, water rights, and who owned what stretch of the river. She kept to herself mostly, but I'd caught glimpses of her gentle hands tending a lame foal, or the way she'd smile faintly at the sunset, like it held secrets only she knew. Damn it all, I'd felt a pull toward her, something I hadn't let myself feel since losing my brother Samuel in that godforsaken battle. It was foolish, I told myself, me, a scarred-up ranch hand with more ghosts than friends, and her, a mystery wrapped in quiet strength. But in quiet moments by the campfire, I'd wondered if maybe, just maybe, there was a spark there worth fanning. 10 riders, Clara gasped, each word costing her dearly as I knelt beside her, pressing a bandana to her wound in a futile bid to staunch the flow. Her grip on my sleeve was iron, nails digging in like she was anchoring herself to life. Their leader. He knew your name, Luke, knew about your scars from the war, the one on your shoulder from that Sioux arrow, said to tell you. Raven Thorn sends his vengeance. Thorn. The name slammed into me like a runaway stagecoach, ripping open wounds I'd buried deep. Captain Elias Thorn, my commanding officer at Little Bighorn, the yellow-bellied snake who'd cut and run when the Sioux counterattacked, leaving 50 good men, including my kid brother Samuel, to die under war whoops and tomahawks. Samuel, barely 19, full of dreams about staking his own claim out west, calling my name as he fell. I'd survived by sheer luck and a horse that wouldn't quit, but the guilt, that rode me harder than any bronc. Thorn had vanished after the massacre, branded a coward by the army, but whispers said he'd turned outlaw, hiring out his military know-how to the highest bidder. And now, here he was, dragging me back into hell with a personal vendetta. Clara's trembling hand shoved a blood-smeared scrap of paper into mine. "He left this. Said you'd understand the terms." I unfolded it with fingers that barely shook, though my heart thundered like a herd on stampede. The scrawl was bold, mocking. "Harlan, 8 years I've bided my time for the right bait. The border woman's secrets outshine Wyoming silver. Shadow Gorge. Dusk tomorrow with $25,000. Alone, or she suffers slow. Your call, Corporal, Cap. E. Thorn. 25 grand? That was a king's ransom out here, more than most ranches cleared in a decade. But it wasn't just money Thorne wanted. This reeked of something bigger, more twisted. The raid had been to clean, to precise like a military operation, not some random rustler hit. They could have gunned me down easy if I had been the target, but instead, they'd taken Sophia alive. Why her? What secrets did she hold that outshone Silver? My mind raced, piecing together fragments, her questions about the land, the way she'd study maps by lantern light when she thought no one was watching. Was she more than she seemed? And why drag my past into it? Thorne knew me too well, knew that guilt over Samuel would make me bite, make me ride into whatever trap he was setting. I pressed Clara gently, my voice low and urgent as the sun climbed higher, casting long shadows over the carnage. Clara, what was wrong with the cattle these past months? Sophia mentioned something about the herd wasting away. She coughed, blood flecking her lips, her eyes glazing but still fierce. Started 5 weeks ago. Cows dropping weight like they were starving on full bellies. Sophia. She said it looked like poison, deliberate. Found traces in the upstream riverbed arsenic. She reckoned. No accident. Luke, someone's fouling our water to drive us out, make us sell cheap. The words chilled me deeper than the morning frost. Arsenic poisoning calculated, cold-blooded sabotage. I'd heard rumors of it hitting other spreads in the valley, the McAllisters up north, losing half their stock last spring, the Johnsons folding and selling off their land for pennies. Sophia had been digging, literally unearthing surveying tools and empty toxin vials near those old Spanish boundary markers. Along the river, she pieced it together, a web of foul play spanning multiple ranches. Someone systematically ruining families to snatch their land. But who, and how did it tie to Thorne and his vengeance? Clara's grip tightened, her voice a whisper now. Sophia ain't just here for the cattle. Luke, she's documenting it all, taking tintype photographs, sketching maps of the contaminated sites. Said other ranches are suffering the same. She's building a case against whoever's behind it. Her eyes locked on mine, pleading, promise me, get her back. She's got a fire in her, like you. Don't let him break her. I nodded, throat tight, as Clara's hand went slack. She slipped away just as the sun crested the Tetons, her final breath a misty sigh in the cold air. I closed her eyes with a gentleness I rarely showed, a hollow ache blooming in my chest. Henry and Clara had been more than employers, they'd been the closest thing to family I'd had since Samuel. They'd taken me in after the war, given me work when nightmares kept me from sleeping straight. Now they were gone, murdered for what? Land, greed, and Sophia. The thought of her in Thorne's clutches twisted something fierce inside me. Was it just duty driving me, or something more? Those stolen glances across the campfire. The way her laugh had cut through my solitude like sunlight through clouds. Damn it, Harlan, I chided myself. This ain't the time for mooning over a woman. But the pull was there, undeniable, a spark of hope in a life too full of ashes. The sound of approaching hooves pulled me from my reverie. Sheriff Ben Caldwell rode up with his two deputies, kicking up dust like they were late to a hanging. Caldwell was a paunchy sort, more fond of collecting fees from saloon owners than chasing real outlaws. His badge gleamed, but his spine was as soft as fresh churned butter. Beside him rode Deputy Amos Greer, a lanky kid barely out of his teens with a mustache that looked painted on. And old Pete Harlan, no relation. Thank God, a grizzled veteran who lost an eye in the Indian Wars and now mostly chewed tobacco and spun yarns. Jesus. Luke, Caldwell blustered, swinging down from his horse, his eyes darting nervously over the scene. What in tarnation happened here? Looked like a damn massacre. He poked at Henry's body with his boot, like it was some curiosity, and I had to bite back the urge to deck him. Thorne's gang, I said flatly, standing tall. Hit at dawn, killed Henry and Clara, took Sophia Ray as hostage, left a ransom note $25,000 by dusk tomorrow at Shadow Gorge. Caldwell's face paled under his hat brim. Raven Thorne? That ghost from Lil Bighorn? Hell, Luke, his outfit's got 25 guns, maybe more. Governor's already ridden my ass about disappearing homesteaders in this territory. Can't pursue him too risky. Like hell, I growled, my temper flaring. You gonna let good folks rot while you hide behind your badge? The words hung heavy, and I saw Amos shift uncomfortably, his young face flushing. Pete spat a stream of tobacco juice, eyeing me with that one good eye like he was measuring my grit. From the shadows near the corral, another figure stepped forward, Diego Santos, the ranch foreman, 42 years etched into his weathered face like canyons in red rock. His battered Henry repeater hung low on his hip. and his eyes held the steady calm of a man who'd stared down death more times than he could count. Diego had come up from Texas years back, bringing stories of border skirmishes and a quiet loyalty that made him indispensable. "I ride with you, Sigor Luke," he said in his thick accent, voice low but firm. "Sophia, she healed my boy Julio when that snakebite fever nearly took him last month. Blood debt. I owe her." I nodded, gratitude swelling despite the grief. Diego wasn't just muscle. He was a thinker, always spotting trouble before it hit. And with him came a couple more hands, young Billy Tate, a freckle-faced kid from Missouri who'd been breaking horses at the ranch, and Widow Ellis's son, Tom, a burly blacksmith type who'd lost his pot of rustlers 2 years back. They gathered round, faces set in determination, the kind that binds men in the face of evil. "We're with ya, Luke," Billy said, his voice cracking a bit, but his grip on his scattergun steady. "Ain't right what happened here," Caldwell huffed, mounting up. "You're fools, all of ya. But if you get yourselves killed, don't say I didn't warn ya." He spurred off with his deputies, leaving us in the dust. Pete lingered a moment, muttering, "Watch your back, Harlan." Thorne sly as a fox in a henhouse, then he was gone too. Midday found us gearing up for the trail. I checked my Winchester 76, chambered and point for 5 to 75, its stock worn smooth from years of use. My pearl-handled Colt Peacemaker nestled in its holster, a gift from Samuel before the war, and my Arkansas toothpick knife razor sharp and reliable tucked in my boot. Bandoliers heavy with rounds crossed my chest, and I packed jerky, hardtack, and a canteen for a week's hard ride. Diego saddled his Mustang, his Henry oiled and ready, while Billy and Tom gathered what they could: extra ammo, bedrolls, a few tins of beans. We weren't an army, but we had heart, and in this wild country, that counted for something. As we rode north at twilight, following the blatant tracks toward the Powder River Badlands, my mind churned with questions. Thorne wasn't hiding his trail. He wanted us to follow, which screamed trap. But why? And Sophia, God, the thought of her enduring whatever torments Thorne had in mind gnawed at me. I'd seen what men like him did to women, especially ones with fire like hers. It stirred something protective, almost possessive, that I hadn't felt in years. Was it love? Too soon for that, but the seed was planted, watered by shared glances and unspoken connections. In the quiet of the ride,